Jellick, your assistant publisher with Richmond Real Producers. And today I'm here with Tommy Sibiga. Hey, Tommy.
Hey there, how are you?
Good, good. For those of you who don't know, Tommy was our cover story for January 2022. If you haven't had a chance to read his story, definitely take the opportunity to read it. It was great. I appreciate you really, sharing your story about, where you came from and your family. It's wonderful. But a little bit about Tommy, guys. He is with Hometown Realty. Last year your team sold 380 houses for about $126 million, which is incredible. You individually sold 100 of those for about 31 million. Awesome. And you are also now, part owner of one of the largest locally owned brokerages in Central Virginia, Hometown Realty. So that's absolutely wonderful. Congratulations on a fantastic year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So it was a fun one. Now I got to do it all over again.
Yeah, right. Well, great. Well, kind of to dive in on your article, I know you touched base, and like I said, thank you for kind of getting so personal. But, I want to ask, you could do anything. Why real estate?
Well, I have typically said, almost it's like a two-prong kind of reason for why real estate. First part dates back to when I was a little kid, which is I've just always been wheeling and dealing. Somehow, either from my parents or grandparents, have had a sense of entrepreneurship where I used to get my mom to buy a bunch of Famous Amos cookies at Sam's Club. And then I would take them into elementary class and sell them during snack break and stuff like that. And then that evolved into cutting grass for neighbors, and then buying and selling bike parts, fixing up bikes, selling those to friends, and then later on cars. And so had always kind of been doing, building businesses really in any way that I can. And then in college really felt called and led to full-time youth ministry. And so then was the area director for Young Life in Hanover County for about 8 years. And it was about that time where, kind of my long story short, is our oldest son was born extremely premature, about 25 weeks gestation, and weighing in right at 2 pounds. And so with that, he spent the first 11 months of his life in the NICU. And then we didn't know this at the time, but it ended up being about 5 months at Boston Children's Hospital. And so when we knew he was going to Boston Children's, my wife needed to quit her job so that one of us could be up there full time with him. And so that's when got the wheels turning on. Okay, we had planned to be a dual income family. Now what are we going to do? Being in full-time ministry and the nursing needs, and my wife, needing to be kind of full-time with them, we had to start thinking through career changes. And so a lot of the, actually a good chunk of the adults who were on my Young Life committee were the owners of Hometown Realty. So sat down with Mike and asked him, what do you think about me getting into real estate? And he essentially offered to bring me under his wing, teach me everything he knew, and would accelerate the learning curve to get me up and going in no time. And so having that past as a childhood, plus just what I learned with building really good relationships and having a love and a passion for others, for people, and again, just relationships. That's kind of why I do real estate. So
that's awesome. I know in your article you share that you and your family love water sports. And how old is your son now?
So now he's 9 years old. So I got into real estate when he had just turned 1. So yeah, it's been 8 years in real estate. He's 9. When he first came home from the hospital, he had a trach and was on a ventilator and oxygen and feeding tubes and all that. But now he is a happy, healthy 9-year-old third grader, the sweetest kid, out, and doing really well. So yeah.
That's awesome. So glad to hear that. Being in real estate for 8 years, you've seen a lot. What would you say has been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge is probably just, it's always been kind of that dance of balancing between working really hard and being super responsive and meeting the needs of clients, as well as just meeting the needs of being a good father. being a good husband, making sure that, spending a lot of that good family time. So yeah, I still haven't quite figured that out. Each year it's gotten a little bit easier. But it's super hard because you almost always have to be on. And certainly I pride myself on being ridiculously responsive. And so making sure that clients expect that of me, that my teammates expect that of me, that other agents expect that of me, can pose some challenges when then I also need time, to fulfill all those other responsibilities. Plus then I do a lot of volunteer work. And so it's a constant juggling. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's super relatable to everybody, especially in the real estate world right now. The market that we're in is super hot. So, things are going fast. And so it is a balancing act. So, I appreciate your kind of humility with relating to that, even being, part owner in Hometown and having an incredibly amazing team and selling the amount of homes that you do, you still do have the same struggles as all of the realtors. So I appreciate you sharing that. To kind of circle back, you touched upon being kind of a young kid in school selling cookies and stuff. I'd love to, learn more about, where you grew up and kind of your background there.
Yeah. So I grew up, in essence, all my life in Virginia Beach. And then from Virginia Beach, went to college at Old Dominion University, which is essentially kind of the commuter school for the area. So I ended up commuting just to college. I have always been a hard worker, working 2 to 3 jobs at the same time. I mean, I think as soon as I turned 15 and was allowed to get a work permit, I went and got a work permit so I could start working at some restaurants. And so I had always been doing that. And then kind of my last year in college, I was a restaurant manager, and then I was working for my church, and then took the job with Young Life. And then Young Life basically sent me to Mechanicsville, Virginia, in about 2006. And so I've been in Hanover County ever since. And my family, my brother's still back in Virginia Beach. My mom's in Yorktown. And yeah, actually one of the most recent little adventures that I've participated in, if you will, is my brother and I started our own brokerage in Virginia Beach and have 3 real estate agents down there, just as a bit of a side hustle, I guess, if you will.
That's awesome. That's amazing. It's kind of become family business.
Yeah, it's a side hustle for him too, because he's in medical sales, and it's a side hustle for me, just being in the Richmond market, but being able to help and train and support the agents in that side of stuff.
That's awesome. So what would you say, you believe kind of the biggest reason or reasons to not only your success, but your team's success last year?
Yeah. The biggest reasons there would be, well, I can definitely speak for more myself, where I usually think or consider, and I probably am stealing this from somebody else, but just in essence, before you do business with anybody, most people are asking 3 questions, which is, do I trust you? Do you care about me? And are you good at what you do? And so I think where I had pretty quick success with having my history and relationships of doing ministry for 8 years, had a really good reputation with the community, with adults, with college age folks, high school age and their parents, administration, all that stuff. And so it was pretty quick for folks to know that they could trust me. And then it was a matter of making sure that I could show that I cared about them, which that's where responding to phone calls, picking up, answering phone calls, responding to text, emails, showing up when you say you're going to show up, doing the things you say you're going to do, was able to help demonstrate that I cared about people. And then really all I had to do was prove that I was also good at what I do, which at the end of the day, selling houses. And at this point, I would like to think that my track record speaks for itself there. So, each year, that kind of just builds on one another, I think, because of those 3 things.
Absolutely. I know every day is different kind of in the real estate world, and you've been doing this for 8 years. So what would you say has been your greatest lesson?
Greatest lesson that I've learned, and I try to remind my team about this all the time, and it was somewhat hinted at in the article where, I say at the end of the day, it's a people business. And I think that is true. And that's what I love about it, is that it is very dynamic. It's relationships, it's people. But the biggest thing I learned is that that's also true then of working with other realtors, working with lenders, working with attorneys. And I've been surprised by how, I guess, bad or poorly I've been treated by other realtors, or I've seen other realtors treat other folks. And, there's some big egos out there, and they kind of speak down, and they're quick to kind of tout how long they've been in business and all like that. But at the end of the day, those relationships matter just as much as your relationships with clients, because at the end of the day, it is a people business. And with I would think with humility or humbleness, our brokerage strives to live out that as agents achieve success, that the motto is that they're then reaching down to the others and helping pull them up with them to levels of success. And so, that's probably the biggest thing I've learned, is just that all those relationships matter. And, your clients can think the world of you and think you're great, but if the other agent on the other side doesn't think that, it's only going to hinder your, business down the road all the more. So
Absolutely. That's a great point. As much as it is relationships with your clients, it's just as important the relationships with the realtors. So yeah, that's a great point to make. Well, Tommy, I want to kind of end this. Is there anything else that you kind of want to add to our Real Producers community to kind of share with them?
Nothing really comes to mind. Just super honored to even be, asked to be a part of this. It's an interesting switch going from ministry to real estate, where it's certainly in ministry, humility is a virtue. And I've been more of the tendency to just put my head down and work really hard. And in real estate, there is a little bit of, you do have to somewhat, tout your success. So, feels great to be honored or recognized. I certainly appreciate that. And thank you guys for, allowing the opportunity.
Absolutely. You deserve it. And so we appreciate you, a part of our community.
Thank you. Appreciate it.